Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, I'm somebody who believes pleasure adds time to your life. And being here tonight, sharing the words I've heard all evening with all of you, has had to have added at least a month to mine. Maybe 6 weeks. All right, 7 weeks. But I'm here to present the glorious Ramona Ripston Liberty, Justice, and Equality Award to the glorious Rita Moreno. I don't know how many years I knew Ramona. Could be as many as 40. But there are a few people in my longish lifetime that I have admired and respected more. Ramona was fearless. She was fearless yet approachable. She was warm, and she was dedicated, and she was hot. I don't have the words to express how much I thought about that lovely woman. Ramona had the gift of motivating you to work for civil liberties. I heard of her death while I was in Florida campaigning for Andrew Gillum. Had I not known Ramona and spent so many years of my life under her influence, I wonder if I would have been in Florida at all. My life, I'm fortunate and proud to say, has been influenced by some remarkable women. Ramona, of course, was in the top tier among them. And the award in Ramona Ripston's name, tagged to the words liberty, justice, and equality, is a special honor bestowed by the ACLU of Southern California and goes to one of those women who has mattered so much to me. A recipient who not only exemplifies those qualities, but has fought for them, often at risk to her own career, her friendships, and even her personal safety. After Rita Moreno won the Academy Award in 1962, as you just heard, for West Side Story, she should have been offered romantic leads, starring roles, and cast as the great actress she effectively was. Instead, the parts she was offered, in which I treasure the fact that she rejected, were gang members, servants, and stereotypes. What that says about Hollywood in those years is an old story. By sticking to her principles, Rita Moreno almost became a has-been before she became and is now. But talent and character are survival skills. And Rita, who stood within 10 feet of Martin Luther King Jr. when he spoke his I Have a Dream speech, she has had them through her long, wonderful career. I'm thrilled to say that today she is co-starring, as you saw, in our new edition of One Day at a Time, which just wrapped its 3rd season on Netflix. And I could not be more excited that my company recently began production on a documentary of her life for American Masters. Like the person this award is named for, the glorious, as I said, Ramona Ripston. Rita is a fiery, committed, enormously gifted individual as well as a dear friend. One of only 15 people to win an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony which made her an EGOT, she can now put the Ramona Ripson Liberty, Justice, and Equality Award on her mantle beside the others, and that will make her a REGOT. But crowded as that mantle may be now, Rita has to make room for 2 additional awards in recent years, the SAG Lifetime Achievement Award and the Kennedy Center Honors. So, ladies and gentlemen and others, may I present the only SCREGOT that we know of, and one of the most fabulous performers I have ever known, let alone worked with. The one, the only, Rita Moreno.
Let's take a photo here. Oh, God, he's such a great old Jew. My husband was one, too. I can say that with experience. So you know what? There's very little that you actually know about me, so I want to do little points of light here and there. My mommy brought me to the U.S. after divorcing her husband, a philanderer in Puerto Rico. I was 5 years old. I don't know where she got the courage. She barely spoke English. Just a few months before, she'd gotten a job as a seamstress in New York City in a sweatshop and came back to get me. And we boarded this ship, which was called the SS Carabobo. And if you, see, a few people understand that. If you translate that name, it literally means the SS stupid face. Cara bobo. Not a good omen for starting a new life. The first few months in New York City, in the Bronx, were very, very difficult. It was freezing cold. I remember being in the bus on the way to an aunt's apartment where we were going to stay with 3 other families for a while, and asking my mother what happened to the trees because they had no leaves. And she said, "Oh, that's called winter." It was a very, very difficult time that first year. She took me to kindergarten, didn't speak a word of English because this was before the diaspora of Puerto Ricans to America. So there was nobody around for me to talk to or play with. And I also ran into my first experience with meanness and racial prejudice, boys calling me terrible names, like a name that in our show, One Day at a Time, we say, well, that doesn't mean anything anymore to kids, but it meant a lot to me then, still does, spick, and garlic tooth, and pierced ear, names like that. And the only respite that I was able to find from that kind of turmoil in this brand new, so-called wonderful new life was a place called the Fire Escape, where I used to go and put the blanket on the steel rungs and put on a little radio. We had a table radio by the window of the fireplace, and I used to play music. And I used to listen to Celia Cruz and Miguelito Valdez. These were the Shakira and Pharrell Williams of my time. And I would lay back and look at those millions of stars and dream. I would dream of what I wanted. I wanted really, maybe because of my experience on the streets, I wanted desperately to be somebody, because that was going to change everything. And there was a song that I particularly loved, sung by a group called the Pied Pipers at the time. Some of you with hair my color, I see nodding. And it's a song that I always counted on to represent my yearnings. Dream when you're feeling blue. Dream, that's the thing to do. Dream while the smoke rings rise in the air. You'll find your share of memories there, so dream when the day is through. Dream, that's the thing to do. Dreams never are as sad as they seem. So dream, dream, dream. This is a great night for me. I am so moved to be in the company of such staggering talents and human beings. When Louis B. Mayer first launched my Hollywood career, I was 17 years old and so ecstatic that I practically floated right from his New York penthouse apartment where he met me for an interview to the MGM lot in Culver City, which is now Sony, which is what MGM was. And finally I thought, wow, I can live my dream. I will be a movie star. No longer Rosita Dolores Alverio, the Puerto Rican girl fleeing those mean streets with those terrible words being hurled at me. But in Hollywood, I soon learned it was much of the same, except it wasn't articulated. I had only changed my address. I got stuck, unfortunately, with playing all kinds of what I call dusky maidens of every kind of nationality, as long as they had brown skin. And there was one film in particular that I think sets a wonderful example of what it is that I went through in my time in Hollywood. If you think it's so bad now, it's pretty bad then too. I was doing a film called 7 Cities of Gold, and I played yet another Indian maiden who, when told by her white lover that he no longer has any use for her, throws herself dramatically off a cliff. And, as I remembered the end of that scene, my long-term memory kicked in as I was recalling this story to tell you, which is quite extraordinary because long-term memory does not come to visit me too often anymore. I remember that at the end of that scene, her name is Ula. Ula is lying amongst the waves. And it just so happened on that day that millions of little stinging jellyfish were in the water. Needless to say, I was twitching. And the director said, "For Christ's sake, will you stop moving? You're supposed to be dead, you know." And I said, I'm really sorry, but there's a lot of jellyfish here and they're stinging me. He says, "Shut up and do as I say." Yeah, that's what he said in front of the crew, everybody. And there you have it. He didn't see me as a young actress trying to make her way in Hollywood, Rosita Moreno, now Rita Moreno. He saw me as Ula. And so those kind of experiences made me feel very, very much alone. And it made me feel as though I were the only person in the world suffering these indignities and humiliations. And I get the message loud and clear: shut up and be sexy. Well, it was a young man named Aryeh Nair. Aryeh Nair was involved at the ACLU at the time that I was I'm guessing about 20, 21. I don't remember how I met him. We may have even been on a date. I don't remember. But when I told him my stories, he said, you know what? There's a meeting at a friend's house that I want you to come and attend. I think you may find this interesting. And it was a meeting of the ACLU at somebody's house. At the time, I had absolutely no idea there was an organization of people who stood up for people like me. And that meeting it made me say, well, wait a minute. These people are saying that I have worth and that I have value and that I have rights. And I remember leaving that meeting without even knowing it at the time, an advocate. I was determined to find my voice. If they believed that I was worth something, well, hell, maybe I was, and it was cathartic. A real turning point. So, next month, on December 11th, I will be 87 years old, and for that I'm thrilled. No, please, no, don't do it. I am thrilled to be 87. I mean, that's a swell thing. It means I'm still here. It makes me feel so young. And you, ACLU, are 95, and thank God you're still here proclaiming the worth and rights that belong to all the people of this nation. Today, God knows your voice is needed more than ever for the immigrant, the marginalized, the victim, and the refugee. So you can just count on me as an evangelist for the cause. I am Ula no more. I am Rita Moreno, and I have not shut up, and I will not shut up.